Hello, Practicum students. Finally, the long-awaited presentation rubric is here, and I thought I would shoot a little video to go through it. All right, so let's take a look at the rubric. Of course, you can find the link below to the PDF for it, and I use the word rubric lightly. These are just going to be the essential areas of content that you need to have within your presentation. Remember that if you are graduating this summer, you have to do your practicum presentation, which will happen in just about 3 weeks or so. But if you are graduating in December, well, you don't need to worry about it until then. So, but you might want to watch this video just to get an idea of what your presentation is going to have to look like. All right, well, let's go through some of the basics here on your practicum presentation. Number of slides, you should have anywhere between 7 and 12 slides. That will include one cover slide, or I should say one title slide, and then one reference or sources slide at the very end. And many of you do have references or sources that you've been using, you'll want to put that in the end. That should give you plenty of slides in between to do whatever you want with your presentation. Just make sure you're hitting the minimum, which would be 7, okay? Your presentation should also include some essential content areas, okay? And that's what you can see listed here in the bullet points. Make sure that you've addressed these in the presentation. That's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be listening for those magic words or that magic, topic area to check that off as you're going through. Now, some students I've talked to about this said, should I just have an individual slide titled, let's say, for example, issue being addressed? Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to. It makes it very clear, and I'd be able to perfectly understand that that's what's happening. Or you could just make sure that you have it within the narrative of your presentation. So you don't necessarily have to have a slide titled this, but I would definitely make sure it's in your in your speaker notes or your whatever you're doing to make sure you're on track as you're doing your presentation. So some of the things that you're going to have to incorporate at a minimum would be, of course, what issue are you addressing? We want to know clearly what that is. Why is the issue important? How did you find this particular issue? Many of you had worked with your preceptors or your mentors to identify the issue. Some of you identified the issue on your own, but we would like to know how you came up with this whole thing. What was the intended goal of your work? What was the purpose of it? Improve employee engagement or what have you. So make sure that you've clearly identified that. Then also I want to know what kind of roadblocks or stumbling blocks, dead ends that you encountered. I know some of you have encountered some as you've been going along. And how did you maneuver around those or overcome them? We want to know all about that. Then, of course, we want to know the results of your work. What did what ultimately did you learn? If you're doing a white paper, that's really the body of the white paper itself. That knowledge that you are delivering in almost a consultant role is contained within that white paper format. For you working on projects, very similar to, you are basically, again, thinking of yourself as a consultant, and here is kind of what we learned or what I suggest, or again, whatever the ultimate result of that work product is. This will be the longest section because this really is what you did. It'll be the longest section of your presentation. All of those ones the bullet points above that could be in one slide or maybe two. This one is going to be the main body of your presentation. And then it would be great, and I would like to see a summarized key takeaways. So after you kind of go through the whole thing, kind of in detail, then, here are the rapid fire takeaways to summarize from the results of your work. So you make sure you have that in there. That would, my guess, probably be a separate slide. Not necessary. Again, I'm going to be listening for that content, but I think a key takeaway slide would be, or you could call it something else, totally up to you, but that would probably be the best way to do that. Also, were there any additional areas of additional work or research or further exploration that you found in doing your work? Maybe you did solve a certain problem, but you realized, hey, even though we kind of solved and came up with an idea of this problem, we've already identified kind of the next step in the process that we would like to tackle down the road. What is that, if you did find anything? If you didn't find anything, that's fine. You could say that, nothing else was discovered. But in most cases, in talking to you, many of you have already started planning, like, even after we do this, we've got XYZ planned, after I graduate. So definitely let us know that. And then also, I really want to know, and again, we've talked about it in all of our meetings that we've had, the conferences, that how do you hope to use this work to advance your career? Some of you have already locked in, laser focused. It's going to be a career advancement tool. I'm working with people on developing XYZ for my department, my unit, my place of work. And this is hopefully going to get some spotlight activity for me and then get me to advance to the next level. I want to know how you hope to use this information to get you to that next level. Again, we've talked about it a lot in those advising and appointments that we've had, because I really want you to hopefully get more than a grade out of all your hard work, that you're able to use this thing to somehow showcase yourself down the road for whatever your particular career goals are. So I would love to know your ideas about that. And then lastly, these last section on here are just some technical aspects of the presentation. So we're going to be using Zoom. We're going to be the first group of students using Zoom for student presentations. So there might be some hiccups, some glitches. Our DE area thinks they're going to be ready to do this, so fingers crossed. I do have a backup if it doesn't work, but all of you are probably familiar with Zoom, and all these formats are pretty much the same. You're going to be on camera, you're going to have a PowerPoint, you're going to be talking, there's going to be people watching, we're going to be recording it, and then that format, again, pretty standard. What you may want to do as far as presentation ideas, so obviously you'll have a PowerPoint. You can use speaker notes or whatever you want to do to keep yourself on track. You do want to have an organized presentation. You want to have a good, flow and practice to your presentation. Again, think of it as a almost like a consultant report that you're giving over Zoom, maybe to a client, and you want it to be somewhat, smooth. With that, just some ideas. What I often do is I'll have Post-it notes all around my screen, or I might even have larger pieces of paper taped by my camera that you can't see, that help me stay on track. I can glance at it. I don't need to look away. That helps me keep on track with if I'm doing a lecture or a presentation. You may want to do something like that. Again, whatever we see, you could have all kinds of stuff taped on your wall. What we don't want to see is kind of sort of, I guess, bad camera etiquette, where you're looking down and you're fumbling through 3x5 cards and just reading stuff. So, practice those skills. You still may have 3x5 cards, but index cards, but tape them up around your camera, so you're still looking at the camera or pretty darn close to it, and your eyes aren't moving far away. You could do that. Maybe you want to use speaker notes. That's, again, kind of up to you, but just keep in mind, we want to see nice professional presentations as you're going through there. So, all right, enough of that. Talked about the Q&A. The individuals invited. So who's your audience? The audience is going to be all the students in Practicum plus faculty members. and some college administration is going to be invited to this if they wish to attend. So, um, so that you could have a room full of people, or it could be 3 or 4 of us in the room. Hard to tell. With busy schedules and whatnot, my guess is it probably will be a few students, mostly some faculty members, and maybe a couple of administrators will be in the room. But what we will do is we'll record it and we will send that link out to all of your classmates so they can watch it and then ask you questions about it, sort of asynchronous offline, and that gives them the opportunity to see it at a time that's convenient for them. So we've got that right there. And that's pretty much it, guys. So it shouldn't take too long to put this all together with the material that you've already assembled. Practice your presentation a few times, and then you should be good to go. One of the things I'm going to ask, though, if you could please sign on about 10 to 15 minutes early. Once you'll get the Zoom contact information. I think it's best to kind of work out any kinks. So I'll be in the room, and you'll join me in the room. We'll get your presentation uploaded, make sure camera, microphone, all that's working. So I would sign in at least 10 minutes early so we can kind of get any bugs or kinks worked out if that was to happen. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for the practicum. I do have a link below this video so you can schedule your slot to do your practicum presentation, again, starting in a few weeks. So use the You Can Book Me slot to grab whatever spot that you wish. Oh, one final thing. A student asked me, does my practicum paper, the white paper in this case, does it need to be done by the day of my presentation? No, it doesn't technically need to be done. I mean, you should probably have it like almost done and all the, I guess, near final draft, but it doesn't need to be done. I just need to make sure to have that practicum, white paper, or in some cases you guys are doing a project. So whatever project evidence that you have submitted to me before the last day of the class. So that last day of the class will be Sunday at midnight. So the day before, that Saturday is all I would need. That gives me Sunday to grade it. Again, it's pretty easy for grading wise, but if there are any hiccups, I got a little bit of time to contact you, because then I got final grades due on Monday. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much it. Again, any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Thanks.